of Affairs with me, Nana Abba Anamwa, on GH1 TV. Tonight, we are asking a very simple question. What happened on the 6th March? Why was the whole country embarrassed? Have these questions been answered? Are we getting the right answers? Who was responsible for those error-laden brochures? Well, tonight, we'll have reps of the various political parties in the studio to discuss if really there is any reason to repair our image, considering how the Kenyans are having a laugh on social media about Ghana. In the meantime, we'll take a look at some stories, but remember, you can join the discussion on social media across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, using the hashtag State of Affairs. You're welcome to the show. In our first story this evening, Acting Commanding Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service at Waja, Isaac Sa, says the driver and passenger in a fuel tanker that capsized on the Waja-Kaswa Road early today are on admission at a hospital nearby. Speaking on the phone to State of Affairs, Isaac Sa said that the cause of the accident is still unknown. According to eyewitnesses, the accident occurred at about 5 a.m. this morning. They commended the police and the fire service for salvaging the situation that could have led to a disaster. So that's the tanker that capsized this morning. It's actually somersaulted on the Waja highway, that stretch, and it caused a lot of traffic on that stretch. But of course, we are being told this evening, according to the Acting Commanding Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, that the driver and a passenger who were on board that tanker are on admission. We move on to other stories, and that's actually our focus for tonight. Workers at the Information Services Department, also known as the ISD, have petitioned President Mahama, stating that their job has been taken over by the presidential staffer, Stan Dube. In a petition signed on behalf of the concerned staff by Yaudi Mensah, the workers said their work on national events had stalled since the presidential staffer assumed his current position. The petition by the ISD staff comes after the error-laden brochure used for the Ghana at 59 Independence Day celebration caused a global shame to Ghana. The error-laden brochure, allegedly authored by ISD, referred to Kenya leader Uhuru Kenyatta as the president of Ghana, while describing Ghana as a low-income country. The ISD boss, Francis Kwasi Arthur, who's acting in that position, has apologized for the gaffe and taking responsibility, but his subordinates are up in arms against him and are calling for his removal. The petition by the ISD staff added that they had no hand in the content or the production of the brochure and were shocked that their acting director accepted responsibility on their behalf. The workers want President Mahama to remove him immediately from office. Now, Valentino Note, the defeated NPP parliamentary aspirant for the Klote-Korle constituency, has confirmed that he will run the November elections as an independent candidate. He made the pronouncement at a press conference in Accra early today. Ninoy, who had won an earlier parliamentary primary in the constituency, lost marginally to Philip Addison in a rerun after a long legal battle. He garnered 367 votes against Philip Addison's 396. The embattled parliamentary candidate also accused the leadership of the party of lacking managerial skills. According to him, the rancor that has afflicted the party in the constituency could have been avoided if the leaders had resorted to proper management skills. In other stories, the 2012 flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Pakwesi Indum, has paid the remaining taxes for his chargeable income for the year 2015. Dr. Pakwesi Indum paid 44,000 cedis, 881 and 13 pesos from his chargeable income of 596,332 cedis and 53 pesos. Dr. Indum, who is also the president of the Indum Group, threw a challenge to the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akufo-Addo, and President Mahama to also file their taxes. He said despite the fact that the 1992 Constitution exempts the president from paying taxes, President Mahama must be guided by moral principles to pay his taxes so he can have the moral authority to collect taxes in the country. And on to our last story for this evening. The High Court hearing the eligibility case against the NDC's parliamentary candidate for the Klote constituency, Dr. Zenata Rawlings, will resume hearing of the matter. Incumbent MP Nia Mashiti dragged Dr. Rawlings to court challenging her candidature. Nia Mashiti has accused Dr. Rawlings of not being a registered voter with the Electoral Commission, and of course the Electoral Commission has confirmed that. Meanwhile, the NDC has said she may still be qualified to contest on their ticket if she takes advantage of the upcoming limited voter registration exercise and register. That's it for the news. We'll be back with our discussion. Do stay with me. I'm Nana Abanamwa. This is State of Affairs. Again, my name is Nana Abanamwa. You're welcome to State of Affairs. We're live on GH1 TV. Now, yesterday, Ghana joined the rest of the world to commemorate International Women's Day. Today, the British High Commissioner, John Benjamin, emphasized the need to increase the representation of women in Ghana's parliament. John Benjamin was speaking at a meeting to commemorate the day today.
But I think there are still a lot of barriers. There's bias in society. There's a feeling that's too common that the woman's place is in the home, for example, rather than being valued members of the workforce. Even when they are at home, then their contribution to society through keeping the home and bringing up families is not appreciated. Even often by their own families sufficiently. So I think there's a long way to go. I think, for example, that at the moment there's only about 11 or 12% of the MPs are women. I'm told there's a risk that even that low figure will go down further in the elections at the end of this year. It's very important to try and increase that representation.
Right, and on that same subject, at the British High Commissioner's residence today, the event took place there, of course, and it brought together several women from diverse backgrounds who talked a lot about other things and how women are demanding parity across the board. And also speaking to Sewa Ameher at that event was Gifty Auntie.
We want women to go into politics. But then there are women who come and they are afraid. They have what it takes, but they're afraid of what will be said about them. And so they don't want to go. Sometimes you support the women to go, they get there and you are disappointed because of the outcome. What you see in Parliament. Let us start, maybe go back to the basics. Empower our girls, empower ourselves, because the girls see in us what they want to be.
All right, so that was Gifty Auntie speaking at that event today. Now we move on to our main discussion for tonight, and of course every media house is discussing it, and why not? It was a national embarrassment. Should I say it is a national embarrassment? I want to read to you a text here from the former First Lady. I'll find it very soon and read to you. But joining me in the studio this evening is Anthony Abayefa Kabo, who is the NPP parliamentary candidate for the Laura constituency. And I've already told him if he doesn't win that seat, I'm renouncing him.
In fact, I'm winning the seat. I'm so sure that...
All right. It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
And we're expecting Kwabena Minta Akando, who is Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. We invited him to join us. He accepted it, and hopefully he will be in the studio with us this evening. Of course, Kabo, everybody's talking about it, devoid of any political party affiliation. It is a national embarrassment, but do you think we've received enough answers from the authorities responsible for this? I don't want us to talk about the ISD immediately.
Well, I first of all, let me say good evening to your cherished viewers. I'm always delighted to be on the show, and also to indicate that we all know that the country has been 59 years since independence was declared, you know, some 59 years back. And so the question people will be asking is, 59 years of our independence, is Ghana really, you know, of age of 59, and therefore demands that certain things that we must do as a nation must reflect that growth in our independence, where we were struggling for, you know, total control of our assets and control majority of the factors of production, because under the colonial rule we just didn't really have that. But you know, to have us to celebrate 59 years of our independence and the kinds of things that are coming out of it, I mean, it's very embarrassing, to say the least. And I don't think that the president and the republic has been well represented by this. Don't forget that our Independence Day celebration is such an international event, and it draws participation from around many African states. And we have also been one of the most important, in fact, the trailblazer of Africa in terms of our democratic credentials, where we've come as far as governance is concerned, how we have always positioned ourselves as one of the rising stars of Africa. And so it may sound very minor, but for a thing to happen on the Independence Day celebration, it's completely unthinkable. I mean, to think of even addressing our guest as the President of the Republic, and the fact that the coat of arms, you know, and talking about even what Ghana represents, our color, you know, wrongly described, you know, the coat of arms was in a bad state. And for me, I don't think that, you know, the government itself has been very proactive in providing answers to the Ghanaian people as far as this Fox Pass is concerned, you know, and the fact that also the information service departments have had to, you know, a matter of this nature has aroused the anger of workers in that department. Because in fact, and I was even, you know, doing some small research about the information service department, I'm told that it is one of the oldest, not the oldest departments we've had in this country since 1930. Even before independence, this institution has existed. And it will amaze you to note the caliber of people, how qualified and experienced, you know, people who have worked in the information services department for so many years have gathered. For them to, you know, even sit back and watch this blunder happen the way it happened, and the kind of explanations we are getting from the information services department, and the rancor, the fact that even civil servants, government workers are prepared to come out and speak. It's very unusual to find a head of department for a government agency, you know, in such a blunder, and you get subordinates, workers who come out and say, look, you can't put this on us. This is unacceptable. We never had anything at all to do with this organization. For the last 6 years, we have virtually been put on autopilot. Different people turn up to do the work which we are paid to do. And it is clear. I'm still surprised that this man is still, you know, holding himself in this position.
You think he should resign, or he should have been fired by now?
I think that by now the presidency should have fired this man. I mean, for the blunder, for the fact that people in East Africa are laughing at Ghana.
But did he do it? The staff said they did nothing. They were not in charge of it.
Yeah, but if the staff said that, the head said he was apologizing on behalf of the department.
So
and even went ahead to say that he forged a letterhead of the department and had to use that to assuage the anger and pain that Ghanaians were going through, especially when the thing broke up in social media and everybody took to his Twitter handle or Facebook to write a comment or two.
And especially when he has said that he saw the mistake.
Exactly, a few hours before the event started, and couldn't even ask that, do not circulate, you know, the brochure, but went ahead and said,
because we could have gone without it.
We could have gone without it. I don't see how symbolic the brochure really is. And maybe all these invited dignitaries, within a short space of time, could have gotten some souvenirs that could represent our celebration of our independence and take back to their country. Because many people will say, okay, the souvenirs is what people take away. You go to a funeral, you go to an anniversary, they give you souvenirs. That's what you keep to show that you participated. Or on this day, these were the lineup of events, and this is the colorful event and how it happened. But this didn't happen. In this case, the man is still walking, holding himself up, you know, as an acting director of the institution. It tells you how low we have come to the point where even to talk about our own country, to write about our nation, you know, I mean, we can get it so wrong. I mean, and social media has made it possible for people who live in Iceland to even follow what is happening in Ghana. You know, and today we have become a laughing stock on the continent of Africa simply because one person in this department knows a lot more and is not telling us. And the fact that we want to, and it raises a lot of questions, Nanaba.
Because we're not getting answers.
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions. And one, who ordered the print? Who proofread all of these things before it goes? And you can't even blame a printing house. The question is, did the Information Services Department have any role to play in the organization? And I heard one of the staffs of the department saying that even accreditations, to give accreditations to media, they were never part of it.
In fact, from what they said today, that their work has been hijacked by the presidency.
So it tells you that indeed, and I'm not surprised that as a result of all of this, you're hearing the name of Mr. Standogbe being popped out left, right, and center. And he also took to his Facebook, you know, to say that he didn't give a damn. What happened? He doesn't give a damn. People can say whatever they want to say or blame him for whatever reason. And you have the president still keeping people like that around him. Their aura doesn't, you know, promote governance. And there has been many more cases where he's been cited, you know, okay, for some of this behavior. You recall the famous
that's one
deletion.
mistake that I couldn't get over, that I mean, represents the forest and farms, forest arid farms.
I mean, really?
The English is bad. Arid, I mean,
and I can tell you, Nana, but even if you ask a senior high school student to write about our colors, they'll get it right.
Of course.
A senior high school student has to write about what our red, gold, green, and black stands for. They will tell you because, I mean, we all learn about these things growing up. So for kids to grow up, come to a national parade, and all these things have been distributed, and for you to read it and find out that, I mean, people have been paid to do this. And I'm happy. The courage that these workers at the information
because
services...
I was coming to that, because they've been very courageous.
I'm saying that and I want to take this opportunity to encourage them. I think that these are the kinds of people we want in our country, who can say that, look, we won't sit back and allow people to hijack what we have been mandated to do by law, what we are being paid by the taxpayers to do, and for people's own private benefits, on people's own private, interest, will supersede what could have been saving the country's image, rather than these embarrassing situations. And you find all the newspapers today having to talk about it. It's the lowest step of our nation.
Before you go on, let me read a quote from Mrs. Rawlings. She said that what happened last Sunday was so embarrassing. This has never happened in the history of Independence Day celebration before. 59 years down the lane, Ghana is beyond such mistakes. Therefore, it is very unpardonable. If you see the sort of things happening in the country, it is not surprising at all. We live in a mismanaged country.
You know, and
you agree?
Well, I think so. I largely want to associate with what the former First Lady is saying, because and she rightly captures how the country feels, you know, about all of these. And I think that this particular brochure, you know, issue is really the wedge, where people are just saying to themselves, I mean, where did we go wrong? Why did we get all of these wrong? And this is not the first time. You've had a situation where our president has been embarrassed internationally. You know, during the ECOWAS summit, the president had to cut short his speech because he couldn't find aspects of his speech. You know, even at the State of the Nations, it was embarrassing to see what happened. You know, and then we have this happening on 59 years of our independence. It just tells you, you know, the level of incompetence. It tells you how, you know, the people who have been put in charge of managing the affairs of our nation can't even get basic things right. I mean, it is very embarrassing. And I'm not surprised that, you know, His Excellency the President or the Presidency has chose to, you know, give a total media blackout to this issue. You're not hearing any Minister of Communications speak about it. You're not hearing the Minister at the Presidency speak about it. You're not even hearing government own
Because
communication
we would have
team.
thought that the communications ministry by now would have,
We should have said something,
about
but they have chosen to be quiet about the issue. But I guess if Nana Akufo-Addo had raised issues with the governance of this country, you would have had the Minister of Information come out to say all manner of things. You could have had the people like Koko Anyidoho and the rest who will come out on radio and insult and castigate and say all sorts of things. But on an international embarrassment of this nature, the entire NDC communication team has gone quiet. I'm not surprised the minister will feel to come for this program. I'm not surprised at all. And I think that it's not only at your show. Many, many other shows that has happened since this incident broke up, the entire government communications team seem to have shut down perpetually.
Sometimes silence is golden.
Well, but silence even...
Or in this case,
on this matter, it can't be
suicidal.
golden. Silence is even raising more questions. The question is, who printed these brochures? And I think that's a legitimate question if people ask.
Who got the contract?
Who got the contract? Under what circumstance did they get the contract? Who make up the planning committee, the subcommittee on media relations, and how this whole brochure was cooked up? I mean, for us, even in opposition, I mean, we don't even get things wrong like this.
Because really, if children are going to this event, they're expecting that they're going home with a brochure
Absolutely.
to learn about the history of this country. Things they'll probably not pick up in the classroom, but they'll go home with such grammatical and factual inaccuracy.
Somebody must be fired to show and to mirror the anger that Ghanaians are harboring over this international embarrassment. And you see, when we talk about leadership, I mean, these are the issues that people raise. Is the president having the capacity to deal with this issue in terms of calling for answers and speaking to the country? Is somebody in leadership
You
going
think the president should have talked about it by now?
Maybe not even the president.
Okay.
Maybe not even the president. Assigns of the president
All right.
should even come out to apologize. How would the Kenyan president leave here? What impressions will he have about our information services department? Because you can't get such a thing wrong in any thriving democracy, especially when the department has existed since 1930. The department has some of the most qualified, most experienced people who have been trained by the country, who have been trained by our taxpayers. And these are the people we expect to be at the helm of affairs, giving us some solutions. I have heard, and I'm not surprised. You see, the moment parties or political assigns or political activists in various political parties take over state institutions, we have this problem. This same gentleman called the Information Services Department guy.
The Kwarteng gentleman.
You remember when the infamous Kennedy Japan issue happened? The same gentleman who wrote some bogus, ridiculous article claiming that the national newspapers carried it on front page because it suited the NDC's agenda to demonize Mr. Kennedy Japan after the courts freed him. This same gentleman claimed that he was taking Kennedy Japan to the International Criminal Court because he felt that the issues that he had, the reasons for which he was arrested for were mattered. And I'm even told from very authoritative sources that his appointment, was resisted. Was resisted to the extent that it took political power to put him there. So there has been a great disconnect between the staff of the Information Services Department and his workings, because he appears to work towards a political agenda, but they appear to work towards a state agenda. And that is what the Information Services Department have been put in place for. Let's not forget, politicians will come and go, parties will come and go, but these state institutions must be given the opportunity to work. Don't forget, when Obama visited Ghana, one of the headline issues which Obama left all of us with was that we need to build strong institutions. And in building strong institutions means that allow these institutions to work to their fullest capacity. And then they could have been taking the blame. And if indeed the Information Services Department had been involved in this matter and had come out to apologize to the Ghanaian people, many people would have said that, well, you've done so much well. You've done a lot of many more programs. We are very happy with what you're doing. But for this little fox pass that you have, it's okay. Okay? But in the case where they have not been involved, they know nothing about it. Some political activist by name Mr. Atta, who's been appointed as an acting officer, says that he has forged even the letterhead of a state institution. By now, the IGP should have put this man before.
Because it is offense.
It is an offense to even tamper with the nation's coat of arms and say
because
that you can
I was coming to
forge
because it's a criminal
It's
offense.
a criminal offense.
It is a criminal offense.
And to say that you have forged it and issued an apology which came out wrongly, and then you went back, came back again, it was also wrong, then we have a big problem. Then we have such a big problem.
What do you say to people who say that, well, the mistake has already been made?
Yeah, but somebody
it's not such a big deal. We should just, get over it.
You see, we can't continue to say, you see, this Famanyame attitude that we always try to introduce into our politics and our social life will get every criminal walking away for free. Because people who have been paid to do their jobs will always say that, oh, I mean, this is not the first time, let's allow this to pass. But we can't continue to have that kind of system in our country. If we really want to be the champions of democracy and good governance, then of course we must allow these things, institutions to work. And people who have, committed such blunders, I mean, some punishment as a deterrent to other people. But in this case, I mean, it appears that the government is very comfortable with it. Till date, we haven't seen any senior government official even come out to apologize and assuage the Ghanaian people of their pain. It has just been silence. Nobody's interested in discussing it.
And it's just the ISD boss who keeps talking, because I overheard him somewhere saying...
But he has the impunity to even be talking after all these comedy of mess.
Because he says he personally saw communication officials of the Flagstaff House proofreading the brochure.
Then that even, I mean, Nanaba, that is even the more dangerous part of it. If indeed, I mean, what the Information Services Department is talking about, and the head is talking about, that if people at the Flagstaff House proofread this, then I don't know what kind of reading they did. And I don't know whether those people can even read.
But
because if they proofread this, it means that they okayed this to go.
Yeah.
It means that all these grammatical errors that we are seeing, the description of our coat of arms, and these are Flagstaff House officials, people who are supposed to protect the state, people who are supposed to uphold the coat of arms, and what symbolizes us as Ghanaians is this coat of arms, freedom and justice, our colors. And if people who are manning this country cannot fix or understand or read to see through that these things have been wrongly written, they don't speak of our history in the way that they must be captured, then we have a big problem. Then I'm not surprised where this country really is.
Okay.
And this raises an issue which Baumia raised some time back. It appears these government officials, I mean, the president and his appointees, don't seem to read. And this is a clear example of what he talked about at the time.
Okay. Now, also, I was going to talk about the coat of arms, but it just went away. Because we had a whole year to plan this.
I mean...
A whole year. So if, for instance, the Kenyan president's invitation came late, or confirmation to attend the event came very late, we would have done very few changes to the program, really. But we had a whole year from last year at the end of the celebration, which was fantastic. And I went back to pick up the brochure from last year. And it was well written. It was very professional.
So what went wrong?
I don't know. At best, they could have done copy and paste,
but
maybe.
Nana, but the question is, and you see, we've celebrated these events for the last 59 years.
So we know what it's made up of.
So we know that the coat of arms is described this way.
Yeah.
We know the flag is described that way. We know that, the content and the introduction of, even describing where Ghana is located. I mean, all that got it completely wrong. So the question we are asking ourselves is that it doesn't appear to me that we are getting the full facts on this matter. It appears that some shoddy work was done, and I suspect that whoever did this job or whoever got this contract rushed this contract and failed to consider the national interest of, I mean, a printer who gets this job certainly will have to read this.
Yeah.
And is a printer saying that, I mean, you didn't see these mistakes?
Or did it go in late?
Or even if it went in late, you could have seen these mistakes. So somebody could have been alerted that these are the things that are happening. But for 59 years, I mean, I can imagine if a 59-year-old man gets these things wrong. It just tells you that people are not growing. It just tells you that our nation is being run by a horde of incompetent people. Okay. And this is how low we have gotten to as a nation. But don't forget also that, we can't just narrow the discussion about the entire Fox Pass to, the brochures.
Yeah, I was coming to that
think
because I wanted to veer off a bit. Because if you drive along the motorway, the Accra-Tema motorway, there are some new signposts there.
Yes.
It says no parking, no waiting, and stopping has been spelled with only one P.
That's a problem.
And it's not just one. It's repetitive. Now, forget about that one. At the Tetekwashi interchange, there is a huge billboard that talks about a signpost that talks about a contract. And it says founding agency instead of funding agency. And it's government of Ghana's founding agency. So it is not just a problem with the brochures. It is safe to say that it's probably a reflection of what our educational system has become.
Well, I will not reduce it to educational system.
But
I don't think that this comedy of errors can be reduced to our educational system. This is just a mirror reflection. It's just a mirror.
We are not reading.
It's a mirror reflection of a bunch of incompetent people who are put in place to manage the state of affairs of our nation.
Well, the stopping with one P over there.
But it's been there for how long? Is it not part of the street naming exercise?
I'm not sure if it's part of the street,
well,
but I saw it.
But whatever the case may be, I mean, these clearly mirrors the fact that our nation is being governed by very incompetent people, people who should know better, project the country. Because, you see, it's not just the issue of, if you want to put it in the best way, the fact that, we're having all these errors, but how the country is being mirrored, how the image of the country is being portrayed out there. It's what embarrasses many of us, because some of us have friends in Kenya. And I had a WhatsApp message from a friend of mine in Kenya who was virtually laughing at me.
They're actually having a laugh on social media.
I mean, it's
you don't
a big
even
laugh.
need friends.
It's a big laugh on it. I mean, somebody was telling me, a radio presenter over there was sending me a message this morning and saying that it's such an embarrassment. He can't believe that Ghana could get such a thing wrong. And of course, following the discussions on social media, they even found out that, the Information Services Department came out to even make more damning and comical comments that has even put us in a bad light. And on top of it, we are not getting somebody from the official system to even say anything to Ghanaians. That is a level of arrogance. High level arrogance. They don't seem to be bothered. They don't care. They don't care about how people can shout on their own voices. And people don't just care. They don't care. And I think it's so bad. It's so bad that we have reached this level of this lowest point, especially when we were supposed to be celebrating a very otherwise colorful event. Even though I didn't attend the parade, I watched it from TV. It was beautiful. I was happy. I saw, the military, their wear. I saw various kids taking their march. The president took a salute. It was great. But we're not discussing the greatness of the event.
It's quite pathetic, isn't it?
It's pathetic. And we've been, the whole thing has been shadowed with this whole, disaster of a program, and it tells you the kind of incompetent people who are put together to manage such important events. It is sad. The president has been embarrassed. The nation has been embarrassed. And this is not the first time our president has been embarrassed on an international stage. I was sad when I watched My Excellency, the president, reading a speech, halfway through his speech. I mean, making such a monumental statement as the head of ECOWAS just couldn't find 2 more sheets of his paper. And nobody has been sacked. No questions has been asked. Nobody is answering for anything. That shows you the level of arrogance in the government. And this is something we must look to going into the elections in 2016, that we've had enough of this government. 8 years of your administration, it's been made up of a comedy of, theatricals. And it is sad that our country has gotten to this lowest ebb.
Let me take some messages that have been coming in. Standobe's name was specifically mentioned by Commodore Steve Obimpe as the one in charge of the brochure. Why has he remained silent? That's most uncharacteristic of Stan. He's ignored all media houses that have tried to speak to him about the issue and rather taken to Facebook to say peace of mind makes the body healthy, but jealousy is like a cancer. The disgrace from those elementary mistakes in the brochure don't give us peace of mind. This is coming from Emanuela Taylor. There's another one here that says, some rumors suggest that the brochure was printed by Raymond Archer's printing press. Well, we don't know. We can't substantiate that. Others say that they were printed by a printing house jointly owned by Stan Dogbe and the ISD boss. We don't know that as well. We need to know the truth. The government owes that much to Ghanaians. Who exactly printed those brochures? Well, that's the question everybody is asking.
Well, I think that's where we have to drive this discussion to, especially when the government is not giving us answers. Especially when those
and it's giving room to speculations
absolutely,
and rumors.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have heard various versions of who printed this document. The ISD boss has come out to indicate that it is the Flagstaff House Bureau that took over the printing of the job. So meaning that monies were committed from the presidency for the printing of these brochures. So it means that we must be asking even questions about how the contract was awarded. Was there an open tender for this particular contract? And who won the contract? Under what circumstances was the contract gotten? How much did it cost the country? How much did it cost the country for such an embarrassment? How much did we pay for this embarrassment?
Because we need to get our money back.
So people, but the question is, how much did we pay for this embarrassment? Because we virtually paid for it. If indeed it is the case that people in the Flagstaff House proofread this document, like you said, it means that they okayed it. They okayed our embarrassment and paid from our taxes. And that's why we have to ask questions. And that's why I think that people in officialdom must begin to respect the Ghanaian people. People in officialdom must give us some respect because they are there by dint of our taxes. They are there to manage our taxes. And so we have all legitimate rights to question how these contracts were done, who was given the contract, which company was given the contract. And it's very sad. I'm not surprised that Standogbe will say things like this. Standogbe has said the worst. The worst.
It was probably not related to this. I mean, he has
that was just right.
No, but put anything
to say
out.
That what? To say that what? Peace of mind is what? When you talk about jealousy, what has Standogbe got that
it's
somebody
not related to this?
No, but that's what it is because you take to your Twitter, you take to your Facebook, right in the morning when the issue is being discussed, and your office, which you head as Flagstaff House Bureau Chief, okay, you take to your Facebook and make a comment like this, saying that people jealous you for what? Standogbe, what do you have? What do you have that somebody will be jealous of? What? 8 years ago you were
assuming.
No, but I'm saying
we are just assuming that his post was related.
I saw
to
the
this.
post. I saw the post. But that's a negative
suggest.
reaction to a major issue that has embarrassed your president, your presidential candidate. It's so embarrassing. It's so insulting to the Ghanaian people that this gentleman is being paid with our taxes and has the impudence, the temerity to come out on his Facebook page to write such a thing.
What did he do? What did he really do?
But really, you just mentioned to me right now that the Information Services Department boss said that the Flagstaff...
Some official. Yeah.
But who is the head of the bureau?
Okay, wait. But Stan goes on to Facebook the next morning to post this comment.
What's the comment? Read the comment again.
I need to go back and find it.
What's
Hold on
the
a
comment?
second.
Yes, let's go on to it. I'm prepared for that.
I need to quote it verbatim. It says that peace of mind makes the body healthy, but jealousy is like a cancer. How is it related to all of this? It has nothing to do with this brouhaha.
So imagine the president woke up one day after all the criticisms and post such a message.
Well, he's in a certain state of mind.
I think that is very unfortunate.
So you think
because
that this has some...
the sagacity of a leader is determined by the people around the leader. The president has had to take and admit, okay, even in a petition that journalists have sent to him, that he would take action against Mr. Standogbe. It became public, right? The West African Media Foundation, with a bunch of journalists, came together, took a petition to the president for Standogbe's behavior in even destroying the camera or recorder or something of that sort of a journalist. The president didn't offer any apology.
Of the state, actually. It was coming from GBC.
Absolutely. It's even sad. Okay? Now the same person claims that he has hijacked the job of the Information Services Department, as confirmed by the boss. And that they okayed this document before it went out. All these are not things that Cowboys manufacture. Putting together their own comments and making the right logical conclusions tells you that Mr. Standogbe had something to do with this preparation. He knew everything about it. Indeed, as it stands now, in the absence of answers, he proofread this and okayed it for print. That is the way we would have to put it out, because he's claiming that those of us who are talking about the issue and raising the issue, he is enjoying his peace of mind And we are jealous. Jealous of what? I mean, Standogbe, what do you have? Do you have the whole world?
Let me read some messages that have been coming through from social media. And I'll start off with Sultan Mirza, who says, all they know is to create, loot, and share public resources. Posterity will judge all of us. Michael Kwekum says, in fact, the top officials should refund state money for printing and pay additional money for shoddy work done. Efia Eniwa Poku says, because it is a total disgrace and they just don't know what to say unless they decide to politicize it too. So she's talking about the silence. I mean, the silence is so loud. You can actually feel it, hear it. All right. Efia also comes back to say, it's just a disgrace. Uhuru Kenyatta as our president. That was so funny. Councillor Elom says, politicizing this issue by anybody will mean that you are not different from such an era. We all need to grow up. All right. There's always a first time, and we need to learn from our mistakes. So for me, the government should come out and apologize, and then that will end the matter. Abu Omar says, heads must roll. How can Uhuru Kenyatta be designated as the president of Ghana? Michael comes back to say, I bet you the president of Kenya will keep our brochure for a very long time as a souvenir and look at him when he wants to have a laugh. And actually yesterday the Kenyans were on Twitter saying that we don't actually need to go to the polls in November. If it's Uhuru Kenyatta we want, they'll just ship him to us. I found that so funny.
You know,
that was so cheeky.
No, but of course, that's why we've become a laughing stock. You know, I'm very worried and concerned.
There's a message here for you.
Okay.
Sorry, before you. Abdullah Mohammed says, Nanaba, tell Kabo to stop using the word incompetent. Has he ever been a president before? Cheeky from you, Abdullah.
Well,
Anyway,
this is fine. I mean, even the president said that those of us who criticize him haven't been presidents before, and so we don't have the right to criticize him.
You've never worked at the ISD, so you can't criticize.
Well, that's fine. That's okay. But at least, you see, Nana, but let me make this important point. You know, there's very often to find people on social media sending messages to programs when major issues come up for discussion. And then they say, don't politicize it. Who am I?
You're a politician.
Why do you invite me here?
Because you're a politician.
And because you want us to discuss
Issues.
matters that are
Of
political
course.
issues, right?
Of course.
So if you don't want us to politicize an issue, invite pastors and football analysts to come and talk about it.
No, that's...
So then you will not have politicians having to politicize it, because
that's
I
what
will take
he's
a political take on the matter.
Right.
You see, let's differentiate between partisanship and politics.
Of course.
Everything we do in this country
Politics.
is politics. So if you say that don't politicize the issue, then bring sports presenters to discuss it so that we know that, I mean, these are sports presenters talking politics, so they are not politicizing the matter. But so long as we continue to be invited to these programs to discuss what is on the table, to discuss national development issues, we would always be stating a political position, which is, this is what we think is wrong about the issue, and this is what we must do to move our nation forward. You know, so for people to send such message to say that if you politicize the issue means you are being the same, then if this thing happened, nobody should talk about it. Invite Mr. Obinim, invite Mr. Crunchy, and they will come and have a religious take on the matter, and then we know it's not being politicized, right? I think that makes sense to everybody. But beyond that, you see...
You've got your tongue in your cheek.
No, it's not a tongue-in-cheek issue. I keep hearing this every day.
Yeah.
You know, a major issue comes up, we have to talk about it. Even if it's a social issue, they say, don't politicize it. Then I keep asking that question. Why do these radio stations and TV stations invite us here if they don't want us to talk about it? Because I'm not here to speak religious issues.
Okay. And I think a lot of the messages that are coming through are all about Mr. Standogbe. Why, I'm not too sure. But it says that, is Standogbe indispensable? From messing up the pages in the president's ECOWAS speech to physically assaulting journalists, to using foul language to describe opposition members on social media, to insulting senior members of his own party like Alban Bagwin, to once again messing up some pages in the President's State of the Nation address, to hiring old rickety buses for the Presidential Press Corps, to arranging for members of the press to be accommodated in a tipper truck, and we'll be talking about that very soon, in the full glare of the world on Independence Day, and now to producing such a poor piece of work for our nation's Independence Day brochure. What will it take for the president to see that Stan is a liability. Is there no one in the NDC who can do the work Stan does and do it better? And they're actually relating this to what Mr. Alban Babin said a few months ago.
You remember? It's about a year ago.
It's about a year ago,
it's
right?
It's about a year ago. Time flies.
Time really flies. I thought it was just
No, it's about a year ago.
You remember that
I recollect what Mr. Bagbin had to say.
Naked.
And I think that is a clear manifestation of what he said. It was a very prophetic statement that Mr. Bagbin made. Probably he knew Stan Dogbe too well, and he knew that indeed the president was being bare. The president has been laid bare. But you know, Nanaba, I think we need to also be very clear about something. The fact that this gentleman has had all these kinds of problems and is still at post tells you that the president himself is part of the problem.
How?
Yes. Because somebody has given you a litany of things that he has done. So maybe people also feel that the president probably okays these things, or he's okay with it. The president doesn't see anything wrong with it. And I would be very right to arrive at such conclusions, given the president's posture to some of these happenings. And the fact that the gentleman has been close. You remember during the negotiations with the doctors, when we had this protracted crisis with the doctors, and Mr. Stan Dogbe chose to release issues that were still before negotiations by the doctors. It was such an embarrassment. It was terrible for the image of the president. It wasn't good for our president, and the president said nothing. So I think that we should stop directing our attacks on Stan Dogbe to himself, because it is the president. Because the president doesn't appear to listen to anybody. The president is not even, and I'm very sure that there are members in the NDC, and I heard some very outspoken journalists. I mean, I think the editor of Informer newspaper also. So very outspoken, speaking passionately about some of these things that were happening in the party. They felt that Mr. Stan Dogbe is untouchable. Mr. Stan Dogbe does whatever he wants and goes scot-free. Nobody seems to talk about it. And I don't think we should make this entire discussion about Stan Dogbe. The issue is that people have embarrassed the nation. The country paid for the embarrassment, and for which reason somebody must be answering some questions. And I think that it would be in the interest. Okay, and I've just been told this evening that some young students from I think Legon, I don't know which, I think Legon or Islamic University, are making a police report about the Information Services Department boss when he made this public confession that indeed he forged the letterhead of the department to issue that apology. And the fact that he could use the coat of arms, and we all know it's an illegal, it is because it is a criminal offense. And I know that the police has been arresting so many people,
including the gentleman who was picked up at a drinking bar who said the president was going to collapse on Independence Day. I mean, he was picked up by the police. So
absolutely.
You're
So I think that
something that is so glaring, you
like
would have expected the police to act.
Yes, I think that the IGP should have activated all his mechanisms to get this man to answer some questions. But in the absence of that, private citizens are going to do that. And I'm told that they'll do that very soon, so that the IGP will have cause to act on this matter, because this gentleman, I believe very strongly, got this job because of the kind of hatchet job he did against Kennedy Japan and the things that he said. I'm very clear in my mind.
Now you're speculating.
No, but I'm clear in my mind. I'm not speculating about that. In fact, he did that, did he not?
You cannot say that he got a contract to do this, or he got
I'm not talking about contract, the job.
The job. You can't say he got the job because he wrote an article.
He didn't write an article. He claimed that he was taking Kennedy Japan to the International Criminal Court on a matter that has been expensed by a competent court in this country.
But he's a citizen of this country. And
okay, so other citizens of this country are also making a police case at the police station.
But you can't say that because of that threat to take Mr. Kennedy Japan to the International Criminal Court.
Well, it's part of it. It's part of it.
How is it part of it?
It's all part of it.
Okay,
you know, the NDC
now
doesn't...
you're politicizing it.
Well, I'm partisanship. I think this is now partisanship, not politicizing.
Anyway, okay, so let me go for some messages. We can take a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the journalists, the cameramen, who were packed like sardines into that tipper truck. And the truck, I must say, was rather ugly. And the whole site was demeaning. And you expect that in the 21st century, I mean, journalists will be treated a lot better, considering that cameramen especially go through all these problems to bring pictures to people in their homes. And you know, for these cameramen, sometimes at the last minute, they're not actually thinking about their safety. It's about the viewer at home and what the viewer wants to see. So they actually don't even pay attention to what they are going to climb or what they're going through. Anyway, we'll have a talk about that very soon. But let me take some messages from Red Paper Online. Okay, red paper. I'm not really getting your message. But Ijaya says, where are the NDC guys? The silence is too loud. Well, it's the same question somebody actually sent to me on WhatsApp. Emanuela Taylor once again says that, where are Dr. Eduardo Manebuama and Felix Ofosu-Kwakye? Where are they? Are they in Ghana? The president is naked. They should cover him immediately. Well, I'll take some other messages from social media. This one is from Mensa Bonua, who says that, Anaba, I think that if the president is not speaking, we should just allow him to continue with his silence. In November, we will all decide. Well, we're taking a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about that truck that served as the tour vehicle. Okay, that's probably not the right thing to say. It wasn't a tour vehicle, but that's how the cameraman captured the shots. But they were beautiful shots they brought to all of us. But did they have to be put in that track? We'll come back and talk about it. Of course, Ben Epson has also got his countdown to the elections, and today he's got something more interesting to talk about. Stay with us. This is State of Affairs on GH1 TV. My name is Nana Banam. I'm here with Anthony Abaifa Kabo, who is the NPP parliamentary candidate for the Laura constituency. And remember, I also invited Kwabena Minta Akando, Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, who agreed to be here this evening, but he refuses to take his call. So it is not my fault that the NDC is not represented in the studio this evening. Stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome back to the show. Now let's talk about the journalists. But before we go on, I think everyone has been incensed by this national embarrassment, and we're getting more messages. This one says that the NDC government, I don't know if this one is a fair comment, but I'll still read it. The NDC government seemed to only pick on women. Okay. Kaba, I hope you're listening to this. He says the NDC government seemed to be picking on only women. Victoria Hammer was sacked. Jifa Ateva and Betty Moldrusu were pressured to resign. I don't know if they were pressured to resign for various acts of indiscretion. Yet people who have committed equally grave acts of indiscretion, like Murtala Mohammed, Stan Dugbe, it goes on and on, are all allowed to remain in government. This is just not right. Well, I'm not sure this is a fair comment to government, but well, that's a message that's coming from one of our friends on social media. There's another one here that's asking, didn't they charge for the service they rendered? Why can't they be punished? And he's referring to whoever printed and published the brochures. Now let's talk about the journalists. You saw that picture of the cameraman.
I think that was the true state of our nation as far as the profession journalism is concerned. I mean, I think that that picture really displayed the nature and the manner.
Look at the truck.
I mean, like, this is it. Yes, I think this is it. This is how far journalists in this country have been treated and mistreated by this government. This should, in fact, this should rather make journalists be more critical of this government, because, I mean, 59 years of our independence. 59 years. And if you look at the contribution of the journalists to our country, where we have come, and the fact that, I mean, this is the same government that virtually criminalized this profession, okay? One would have expected.
Look at this. I mean, I saw this one and I squirmed in such discomfort.
But it was deliberate. It is deliberate.
How is that deliberate? I mean, they needed to take the pictures
so what?
From very good angles.
Yes.
And I bet they probably, and I'm playing the devil's advocate here, that they had no options available as to how these cameramen would take the shots.
You know, but you see, Nana, but you talk as if this is...
made it possible.
But you talk as if this is a one-off event that we celebrated, we may never celebrate it, and so we can say that it's okay. 59 times we have had to celebrate this independence. 59 times. In all of these processes, journalists have been the pioneers of putting this country where it is. We all agree that their profession is a difficult profession. We all agree that they must be treated with some dignity and respect, because at the end of the day, for us politicians, it is the journalist that gives us oxygen. If I speak here, if without this platform, if you are not moderating this program, people in Laura won't hear me. If you don't give me the platform, nobody will hear the message of any political party or anybody. So to treat journalists in this manner is, the least said about it, the better. Because this is such an embarrassment. And in the era of social media where pictures go viral, as soon as the parade began, and this picture was put on social media, I guess it went so viral, people were disgusted, people were angry, people couldn't believe that for such a national event, we couldn't even find a place for journalists to get their shots. And I've seen some pictures that have been put out, where one stand have just been provided, where a few journalists hop onto. When we know that journalists are becoming, journalism is becoming an interesting profession for many more people.
And this is the fourth estate.
And this is supposed to be the fourth estate. I think that this is the true state of the nation. This is where we have come far. 59 years of our independence. This is how we have treated journalists who have been part of the fight to bring back democracy in this country, journalists who have had to fight at the peril of their lives. And if now we are enjoying all of these things, where are we? Where are we? So Nanaba, it sums it all up. It sums it all up that we have a problem in this country. The manner in which journalists, and I will even make a very interesting point. For our party in opposition, when we had our event in Sunyani, organizing our last Congress before we rounded up the year, look, we took deliberate steps to make sure that the journalists who were coming to cover this program were given particular stands. And many of them are here. I see some of them here who covered that event. And they'll tell you, we made it possible so that everybody could have a good position where you can get the right shots that you are looking for. Because we believe that without the journalists, our messages cannot be sold. Without the cooperation of the journalists, many of the things that we talk about, many of the good ideas that we sleep and dream about cannot be communicated to the world. And the entire debate as far as policy is concerned is grounded on the journalistic work, because they will provide, they will ask the right questions, they will interrogate the issues. So for us to be celebrating 59 years of our independence and to treat journalists in our country like this, it's very sad. I'm scandalized. But I think that journalists in this country will also have to probably learn, some lessons from these things, because under President Kufuor's administration,
it comes with the exigencies of.
But we did not treat journalists that way. For all the years that we've been in government, we have been very big as far as media pluralism is concerned in this country.
That's true.
And that has been one of our biggest.
I also saw how when President Kufuor occupied the castle, how journalists went there to cover assignments there, and they will stand for hours, not even a drop of water was offered to them.
No, that's not true.
That's very true, I'm telling you. I reported from the castle.
I worked at the castle. You know I worked at the castle as well.
Yeah, but I reported from there a couple of times. And journalists used to complain to me. I went there and I was quite surprised that when you stand for a long time, you want water and you're not given. And the journalist said, that is how we're treated all the time.
No, that's
so
not
journalists are not treated. It doesn't matter who's in power. I'm telling you for a fact. You can find out. You see, you want us to zero this discussion into many other things. I'm just telling you
your media house,
you see,
then you are bringing up the big issue. We all agree that journalists are not being treated well.
Yeah.
Even in your workplace.
Of course, the media owners are not treating journalists well.
Exactly. So let's discuss that as a holistic problem.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that for the state to have a national event, and you know that without the journalists, you can't even beam all of these things that you want the world to know. So what the journalists were asking for is nothing much. All they were asking for is a place designated for them to get the right shots.
Right.
Who are they making these shots for? For Ghana. Not for NDC, not for MPP. Okay? And this is how far we can treat them. So for you to draw the parallel and to say that people go to an event, you come to the MPP's press conference, have we given you water before?
No.
We don't give you water, but you come to take the news. But we make sure, you are not in difficult situations. We handle you people like golden eggs. We don't.
Really?
We may have some rough edges here and there.
Really?
I mean, I've been under the MPP. I've known journalists who
Yeah.
have had issues with the way they've been manhandled and all of that.
Absolutely.
And that's part of your job. If you speak to people like Christiana Mampo, they'll tell
Of
you
course, and that's
the
what I'm saying, that
difficulties
it's the
that they have had.
exigencies of the job.
But I
Yeah.
mean, at an Independence Day celebration,
And it's not a war field.
59
So
years.
people must be treated properly.
59 years. Okay? I mean, if you say that people come and stand for so long, then what will we say to the police? Those who stand and salute every morning.
So it's okay.
I mean, I'm not saying, but you see, the point really is that these people haven't been treated well. Let's talk about it. Let's not draw parallels to say that some journalists covered
I'm
at
just
the,
talking about
at the
this
presidency
is quite
and they were not giving
dangerous.
water. Were you at the presidency to drink water?
No,
You're
but
there
if
for
you're
your
there-
story.
if
You're
you're
there for your
there
stories.
I mean, give them a seat to sit.
Oh, but
they
you know,
can't be standing all day. They're coming
but
there
that's
to
why.
report.
But that's why we built. Oh, hold on. You see, that's one of the reasons why. Because the castle wasn't the appropriate place. That's why President Kufuor said that in his own mind, he feels that the nation needs to have a place where we call presidential palace. And that's how come we built the Flagstaff House. In fact, we call it the Golden Jubilee House, where you know that state-of-the-art facilities, which this government criticized and said it was profligate, it was too expensive, they moved in. And they even began to hold bi-weekly, press briefings
And
for
they said
people.
it was badly done.
Well,
they did a lot of
but they
work
moved
on it.
in.
Well, but that's not the subject.
It was 95% complete when they moved in.
That's not the subject.
Today they
for
are doing other
discussion.
extensions over it. They are happy
Yeah.
with the place.
Okay.
So these are the concerns that we have. And I
Okay.
think that, well, some of these, I don't know where these pictures are coming from, but not all the journalists were given the right spot for them to be able to get the right
Well,
shots. Some had to
in-
struggle,
in-
join a truck,
in
and it's even
cases like
illegal.
this,
Listen, it's even illegal.
For what?
It's illegal to carry human beings in a tipper truck. This is meant for stones and
I
sands.
know.
You can't put human beings. I mean, they were packed like sardines, and they had to even put a ladder.
Stop borrowing my word.
I mean, they were-
Sardine is my word.
Well, okay, whatever you think. Maybe
You're allowed
maybe
to.
Qatar schoolboys. They were packed in there like that. I mean, it's sad.
Anyway,
It's sad. Imagine that Ebola had. We're still in the outbreak of Ebola with
Well,
all this
thankfully-
crowd and all of that.
thankfully we were
It's
not-
terrible.
we're not.
We're not. We're
Yeah.
not.
But,
But it's
as
a
I
sad
said,
situation.
I saw this and I squirmed in such discomfort.
And I'm happy you did so because
Yes,
that shows how
It
bad
was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking for me. And these are just cameramen. I don't think there were reporters on board. It's not even good to say they were on board. I mean, they were packed like bags of sand.
Well, so let me ask, was your reporter part
No,
of
a
this?
cameraman.
One
It's
of
just
the-
cameramen.
Was that any of the cameramen
Yeah.
there?
That's him over there, standing behind camera 2.
Oh, so
And
GH1 was right in this
Yeah,
truck?
he
This is an
climbed.
illegal event. This is illegal.
He actually climbed, and that's him over there, holding the camera right next to the ladder.
Oh, this is terrible.
What's his name again?
This is terrible.
Nicholas.
Nicholas.
That's Nicholas.
Yeah, Nicholas, you don't deserve that.
Right there.
And I want to assure you
And I'm
that
happy. Nicholas, please, don't listen to
You-
Pablo. I am happy you came back in one piece and peacefully. And you are manning camera 2 for me this evening.
you see,
God
but
bless you.
Nanaba.
Camera 3, camera 2, camera 3. Now all the cameramen went.
Well,
they
you
all
see,
went,
this is the problem.
They all want shout-outs from
No,
me.
no, it's
Anyway,
not shout-outs.
Kudos,
It's to-
kudos to all the cameramen here.
it's to-
Anyway, but this is not good. And the next day, I've got friends who work at the BBC, and they actually posted the picture and said, "Nanaba, I can actually spot you in there."
Oh, my goodness.
And I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, it is
But I had
embarrassing.
to create a joke and said, "Oh, I can also see the BBC cameraman."
It is
But it was
embarrassing.
quite embarrassing.
And Nanaba, I want to assure the camera crew from GH1 and take
all
this
the
from me,
others.
and all the others who had to go through this humiliating exercise to get shots so that they can get their media stations reporting and getting the right shots. But I can tell you, this is 59. In 2017, when Ghana will be celebrating its 60th anniversary, okay, 60th Independence
Yeah.
Day celebration, the MPP
It could have
government...
actually been sprayed.
Well,
it
it is
could have
terrible.
been. It could have been sprayed.
It's terrible. And this is not,
It's
this
rusty.
is illegal. The police were right there. They could have arrested the vehicle and all the occupants in the vehicle, because clearly this tipper truck is supposed to carry sand, stones for construction. You can't have our journalists, hard-working journalists in the scorching sun, being loaded into a tipper truck, probably meant for some construction site. Only God knows how this tipper truck found its way to the event, and how come journalists...
I'm hearing, and I don't know if this, it is verifiable, but I would wish that it would be confirmed, that the truck was actually provided by NATMO.
Well, so they themselves, as a disaster organization, were engaged in a major disaster activity, you know, and
Well,
this is
nothing
terrible.
happened.
Well, I mean, but anything could have happened.
Yeah,
Anything could have happened. If this truck had caught some fire, only God knows. God knows what would have been happening here. We would have been talking
thankfully,
differently.
nothing happened.
But you know, Nana, but let me make this point. I want to assure all these journalists who have gone through this public humiliation.
That's when Nana comes to
that
power.
in
they'll be
2016, no, in 2017,
Right.
we would have the opportunity.
If you win.
No, we would have the opportunity with the Ghanaian people's support and with the blessings of God. I'm very sure that this time around, God will smile on the MPP. We would have to celebrate Ghana's 60th anniversary. And I can assure the journalists, you will get your spot, we'll give you the accreditation, you'll have it way ahead of time. You have to come and set up before the event, and then...
But you've celebrated it before.
But we didn't have to
many
put you in tipper trucks.
Okay, I don't remember what you did.
We didn't put you in tipper trucks.
But there was no tipper truck.
But we didn't put you in tipper trucks.
This tipper truck, I'm sure it has done so many rounds at a stone quarry. And it was probably very sandy in there.
I don't even know whether it's only sand. Maybe you could have been carrying manure as well.
No, it's on video. Nicholas couldn't smell anything else. Anyway, but really, Anthony Cabo, what if anybody said that, well, journalists take risks anyway, any day. So this is probably what we are doing is all a storm in a teacup. Really.
Well, I heard my very good friend Kweku Bako this morning talk about the fact that journalists have taken the risks. But I think that it also exposes a flaw in the planning committee and organization, because these things could have been taken care of. I didn't think it would cost the nation, 1,000 Ghana cedis to get a stand built. I don't think it would have cost us more than that to get a stand built and accredited journalists who can also have, not even accredited journalists, my brother, my sister, not even accredited journalists. They could have just built a place where even onlookers, people who wanted shots, private people who wanted to take photos, because these opportunities, they come very, and once in a year. So everybody wants to come out there, take shoots of your children, even marching, you're watching your husband, in the march parade. I saw a Jacko and the rest in a very funny way, and somebody would like to take pictures, and people just needed to be there. Somebody talked about, these days the journalists and the media houses will have to invest in drones, and they don't need all of this. But there's a difference between what the drones can do and the kind of angle pictures you can get hanging up in such a place.
Absolutely.
And the height and all of that. So I don't think that really adds up. But of course, I know journalists struggle in this country. They don't even get paid well by their employers. And the job is also very difficult, very demanding, And so I think that we would all have to nationally, sympathize with these journalists and encourage them. It is your calling, it's your profession, but you deserve to be treated better. And I can assure you that our next government will certainly put you at the forefront of it, because we have been pioneers.
You have to take advantage and campaign.
Well, it's not about campaigning, it's just about the truth. We have a good record as far as media is concerned.
Right.
We were big as far as media pluralism is concerned, and you know that. The criminal libel law, many of you would have been locked up if we hadn't changed that law by now. Many of you would have been locked up. But we showed that indeed, true democratic state must allow the media to flourish and allow all these private stations to come into the country.
Okay.
And now we've been consumed by the media, which is a good thing for our country.
Of course. But regulation is very necessary.
Yeah,
anyway, so if you think that all the noise we've been making about the cameraman in that tipper truck is probably just an unnecessary hubbub, well, we'd like to know what exactly you think. And so communicate with us the hashtag State of Affairs on social media, and I'll be very much happy to run the messages with the rest of us. But for now, let's take a breather and listen to Ben Efson, who's been doing the countdown for the EIB election hub.
Hello, last Thursday the MPP did it again. Members of the MPP, they are killing themselves. When the NDC government is under pressure, then their members come and put sand in the gari. The former press secretary to ex-President Kufuor had an interview on Kasapa. Yesterday, we spoke extensively, quite a bit, on why certain people think that the Kufuor faction, having enjoyed under ex-President Kufuor, want to sabotage the Akufo-Addo Nana Akufo-Addo from coming to power. If you listen to Andra Wuni's interview on Kasapa with Fifi Banson last Thursday, then people want to see that, oh, yes, there must be something. Because it started from last 2 weeks, Mr. Afoko going on air. Mr. Kojon Pienim saying that he believes that Mr. Afoko is still the national chairman. Things that others have said and have been suspended. Clearly, he was trying to provoke the party. Mr. Wuni comes on, he says, one, it will be a miracle if Nana Akufo-Addo wins. He says that he doesn't think that Nana Akufo-Addo will work as hard as President John Mahama. When you say this, yes, he said in his own right, but we are in easy times. The MPP is under pressure. And what is likely to happen, there's going to be a backlash against those perceived to be in the Kufuor faction. You know, people say that the MPP enjoys pressing the self-destruction button. And this is the time. If you love democracy, you want there to always be a strong opposition party, which will keep any government in power on their toes. That is the duty that the MPP must help us, Ghanaians, ensure. Anytime if MPP wins, I will want to be a strong opposition. So it is their duty. They are doing it for themselves. That is our take on this program. Sabotage. My brother Kojo always says that they are sabo people. I think that they have to find ways and means of dealing with it. President Kufuor once said that he would prefer to be a messenger in a party in government than be the general secretary of a party in opposition. As the ex-president and a very influential member in the party, he has a duty to ensure that that perception that people in his faction want to sabotage Nana is gone. I don't think President Kufuor, with his experience in politics, you need to bear in mind that 1969 was a member of parliament. He was then 29 years old. He's been in politics for a long time. I'm sure he's aware that perceptions stick like glue. He won twice against the late Professor Mons because people believe the perception that Rawlings will control most. It's only when in 2008 that the late Mo disagreed with the Rawlings' choice of Betty Modi Drisu before that perception went away. So President Kufuor, if you are watching, that is the perception. So please, welcome it.
And you can catch the next countdown on Beswa and Kafu Day show tomorrow morning. That's a GH today. And then in the evening, of course, with me, you can get that countdown. But that's the EIB Election Hub. Anthony Cabo, any thoughts on Benefson's inputs this evening?
Well, I also, and this is a perception, just as I know Uncle Ben will be watching. This is also a perception that it appears that Mr. Benefson is very fixated with anything happening in the MPP. I'm surprised that you have a pollster, and in fact, one of the only pollsters we have in this country.
The best we have.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I know he's a very good pollster. But
Yeah.
I don't even know he's the best pollster, but the very good pollster. But appears to concentrate only on the MPP.
Because you have a lot
He
of
doesn't talk
issues.
about the PPP. I haven't heard him give predictions about the PNC. He hasn't talked about the CPP. He hasn't talked about the NDC. Very strangely, it appears that, and that's a perception too.
He talks about the NDC.
Well, I think that's a perception too. He does a lot more work on trying so hard to talk about issues the party has buried. Okay?
Which party has buried?
The MPP has buried these parties. Look, we are in an election.
Well, Andrea Wuni, didn't he talk a few days ago to Kasapa?
You
He
see-
didn't make it up.
You see, there's a campaign team. You hardly hear some people in our party speak. You don't hear them talk. They only get their voices when they want to start a problem. There is no problem. The MPP is a peaceful party. We've gone through our difficult and hard times. We've come together. We're pulling together. We are showing. And I would like to to say this, you know, and it is a very important quotation by one of the greatest politicians I've known in my very young working life. You know, that the great quality of leadership is the ability to convince your followers, your team, your admirers that courage and determination is omnipotent. And I think that is what Akufo-Addo has succeeded in doing.
You're done.
I'm done.
Right. Let's go with some messages now. Still talking about the national embarrassment that has befallen all of us. And
Which
also,
one? The one we paid for?
All right, okay. Let's go for some messages here. Where is the hashtag state of affairs? Okay, I'll take the first message from Welby Summer. A more professional approach should have been adopted to prevent such a situation. The brochure, the coverage, everything. And there are more messages. I'll take this one from Celestine Apia and San, who says that I'm so sorry about the way these journalists were treated, and I'm joining Anthony Kabo to say they should calm down, for change is coming. Kobe also comes to say, I'm sorry for those journalists, change is coming. Well, the hashtag to use is actually state of affairs, not change is coming. We'll leave that to Anthony Kabo and his cohorts.
Yeah, they're hijacking your Twitter handle, huh?
All right, so I believe a Chinese company was awarded the contract to print the error-laden brochures because the English language is quite alien to them. Well, that's not true. They actually do some very good printing work. And so, journalists are not held in high esteem in this country. No respect for them. Backward ever, forward never. This is coming from Sultan Mercer. Hope I got your name right. Lemonade Ghana says that when your cup starts to get full, you will see drops under the cup when you try to raise the cup. NDC's cup is getting full. I have never heard this logic. I mean, is it a direct translation? It's a cup now, I'm not too sure. I'm trying to get it right. The NPP does not treat journalists any better. Just last week, they beat up journalists at Menchia. I have to pause for you. You followed that story.
Which of them?
The Menchia. You heard.
Which journalist was that?
Well, I'm not too sure of the journalist, but there were reports that some journalists had been beaten up.
But which journalist? At least we should be able to identify the journalist.
You would know.
House.
You've been following it.
I mean, but the media house.
But you heard that story.
I heard about some problems in Menchia had to do with party people and disagreements. But I don't know. I didn't hear about
journalists being beaten up.
If the person has the information, let's know the media house. And of course, why not? As a responsible political party, we would apologize to these journalists because the nature of our work. Sometimes tensions are high, people are upset, you know, and journalists are struggling to get an interview when somebody's angry.
Yeah.
You know, so certain things can happen. Even somebody can shoulder you and then you say you've been beaten.
Well,
you know, so we can apologize to whoever was involved.
It's actually mishandling.
Yeah, you know, and they have all the words to describe everything.
Yeah,
journalists,
that's true. I mean,
mishandling.
Yeah, I mean, when you shoulder somebody, why would you shoulder a journalist who's trying to get information? I mean, the job of the journalist is to disseminate information. So why shoulder the journalist in an attempt to get information?
I didn't say this journalist was shouldered. I
no,
only
I'm
said
just saying,
that, you know, a little
following
example.
your example.
Because you're trying to extrapolate this.
No, at all. All right. Papa X says, Nanaba, I suggest journalists should be sharing pictures among themselves to avoid such situations. Well, there are more messages this evening. It's actually a lot of them. My timeline is flooded. But thank you all for sending us these messages. Anthony Aberifa Kabo is the NPP parliamentary candidate for the Laura constituency. How's it going out there for you?
Well, it's been great. I think we had a very good time. We want to thank...
You were there with Dr. Bawu.
Yes, in fact, he did such an amazing thing. I mean, he spent 2 nights.
Is the Perisi school in your region?
No, it's in my region, but it's in the Wa Central constituency.
Right.
But indeed, he did a very wonderful thing. We want to thank him for that. You know, he spent 2 nights in our community. We're so grateful. We visited a lot of communities, and the people of Laura are most grateful. And indeed, he made some promises, and, you know, to the surprise of many, he honored these promises, building a borehole for the people of Dongmini and donating some cash amount for self-help library project that is currently ongoing in the community domain for the students. I think that we had such a great time with him, and we hope that he would make more time to visit
Are you
Laura.
going back soon?
Not immediately. Not immediately.
You'll be in Accra
but
for
I'll
a
be in
while.
Accra for
So
a
we'll be
while.
seeing you more often.
Exactly,
on the
and
show.
I'm prepared. And very interested, you know, I don't know, but maybe the next time I come here, we need to talk more about event PR and their role in this whole brochure.
Right. Right.
And who owns event PR? Who are the partners of event PR? So we can unpack the issues surrounding the comedy of errors which we paid for with our taxpayers' money.
All right. Let's take a look at the facts we put together for this evening's discussion. All right, so those are the facts for tonight. But thank you very much, Anthony Abayofakabo, for staying with us. And we invited, I have to put on record, we invited Kwabena Minta Akandon, Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, to join us this evening. He actually agreed to join us to talk about the embarrassments that befell all of us on Sunday, that he just didn't show up. So thank you.
I think it's been such a great embarrassment that everybody in government is running away from this embarrassment. Yeah, I think that's what it is. But thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for coming, actually. And he's the NPP parliamentary candidate for the Laura constituency. Big thank you to Eye Candy Boutique in East Legon for my pink outfit. You like it, don't you?
See, I mean, and let me also say it. Yesterday was International Women's Day. We never really gave any shout outs to our women.
That's true.
Women need a lot of support and must be empowered. And I think that we all need to admit that the introduction of the interstate succession law really changed the fortunes of women in this country. And those behind that law must ensure that we improve the law and make it more inclusive so that especially vulnerable women, Muslim women, can all be captured under the law in the proper way. All
right. And also a big thank you to Ellie Katie for my neck piece, the accessory I'm wearing right now. Thanks to Akosia V, who put all this together. She's my stylist. Well, thanks to all of you for contributing to tonight's discussion. We'll see you same time tomorrow. But remember, Tales from the Powder Room is next on your screens with Na Ashoko Mensaduko. Have a beautiful evening, everyone.